I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Community-related announcements.
Just have a few to make. First off, I want some sad news. This morning I got an email from our senior center director who was passing on some information about the passing of a longtime Midwest City resident who was a great friend to the community, an active supporter of our Parks and Recreation Department and the many activities that they conduct, as well as the tree board, I believe. Harry Hetson, for those of you that have been around for a while, hopefully you can remember him. He was an Easterner with an Eastern accent. So. Sanitation service, with the holidays coming up, if your sanitation service is on Friday for Christmas, on Christmas or on New Year's Day, you'll get your sanitation service on the Wednesday before. And we did receive our sales tax check for December. It showed a modest increase from the previous year, increase of about 58,000 in sales tax and an increase of about 10,000 in use tax for the year. We're still trailing our projections by about 1.2%, although we are ahead of the previous year by about 1.6%. And then lastly, we did receive notice, some of our staff that have been involved with the previous Star Spangled Salute events. We have been informed that we are on the schedule for the Thunderbirds for a 2017 Star Spangled Salute air show event on May 20th and 21st in 2017. That's all I have.
Plenty of notice for that one, looks like. Be a great show. Next item C is a consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that members of the City Council by unanimous consent can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed on the consent agenda does not meet with the approval of all the council members or members of the audience wish to discuss a proposed item with the council, that item will be removed and heard in regular order.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion carries. Discussion item.
This is PC 1860, discussion consideration of approving and passing an ordinance amending Appendix A, zoning regulations of the Midwest City Code by amending Section 5.23, residential fencing and screening, and adding subparagraph C to Section 5.2.3, residential fencing and screening, and providing for repealer and severability. This item is on the agenda to seek some input from the council with regards to making some changes to the fencing requirements, particularly as they would relate to metal fencing and the use of metal fencing in throughout the city. So open, the Planning Commission heard this at their last meeting and requested that you guys have an opportunity to provide them some input before they come up with a final recommendation.
Discussion.
After you, sir. You know, it's, I think at most, if they have a top cap, a top rail, and it's professionally installed, it looks fine. I hate to see them, I mean, you can't really regulate until we could regulate ugly, I mean, at least we can just ask for some improvements, or the top rail would make it a little safer, and just uniformity is my opinion on it.
I like the metal fence concept. I think it's okay. I agree. I think the top capping and the aesthetic features would be good. The horizontal stuff's terrible. So I'm right there with you on that.
So are are you saying that generally metal fences in all districts, just so long as they have a cap to it and that they are on vertical instead of necessarily horizontal?
I can see the cap on it, but I don't understand how a government entity has an interest in telling somebody that their metal fence has to be vertical versus horizontal.
Okay,
I agree.
okay.
Yeah, I think the installation of it's a bigger deal than direction.
I can understand site-proof fencing. The cap on the top is a safety issue, and I get that, and it also finishes it out, but whether it's, you know, if it's beat up and warped and it's got gaps in it, and that's one thing, but horizontal versus vertical, I don't see that we have any business getting into that kind of thing. You know, that picture, the fence is not in good condition. It could be vertical or horizontal and not be in good condition. But
I'm okay too with limiting it to certain uses, maybe not in residential at all.
yeah, yeah.
I like that industrial and lower commercial. I can, Rick and Rick, that's the first time I've ever been able to say that before.
Wow.
I like that, Rick and Rick. I think you're right. The poles hanging out, the poor installation's different than the horizontal. Had it been horizontal and in good condition with a cap, that would be more appealing.
I would say that I've seen some residential that looks pretty good too, though.
Yeah.
And the thing about a metal fence, it'll last much longer than a stockade fence and still look good
Yeah.
till you run into it with something.
That's true. At the planning commission, they talked about making sure that the metal fence that you use is finished. And I made a comment upstairs, I'll make it down here as well. If you do have a metal fence like that and it's in good condition and it's painted and finished on one side, that doesn't help. So probably in residential, it probably need to be finished on both sides, not just half finished. I think that might be important.
I think we need to leave the residential out of these type of fences. This should be more, more for commercial.
So you're saying leave it out of the ordinance or don't have metal fences in residential?
Right, I don't think you should have.
Not
any-
allowing it in
Not
residential.
Not
allowing
in
it
residential,
Yes,
okay.
in the residential, but this should be more of a commercial type of, and I think that, if it's look more like a regular fence, like the one shown with the Mike Connell's, fencing, I think that looks more appealing, because it looks basically like a fence, but it's metal. When you get to the different designs, it makes it look a little bit, I think it looks, I think Midwest City is more modernized in this than to go back to more like a country type of setting, and that's the way it look. I'm sorry, the split splash.
Well, and another thing on the residential, and I agree with Dee, a stockade fence is going to deteriorate, but the life of a stockade fence, you know, is going to be probably 5 to 10 years max, where if a guy puts up an ugly metal fence that's not
It's gonna be ugly from now
uniform,
on.
it
It's
could be
ugly
there
for a
for
long
a
time.
long time.
Yeah, but how about the rust that comes in play with it, and you have that to deal with.
Most of that pre-metal fence is guaranteed for 25 years.
Yeah.
Because they're finished.
And I've found, and I've never built a metal fence, but I put up several metal buildings, and it's much easier to make it look good if you put the panels up vertical rather than horizontal. Now, somebody that's really good might be able to put it up horizontal and make it look good, but I'm not your guy for that.
Well, and of course, we can't require that they be professionally installed. We can require things that a professional installer would do, such as the top caps, the top rail.
And installed as manufacturers suggest. I mean, I don't know, are they gonna allow, you know, I don't know that much about the metal, but they may not recommend you doing it horizontal.
Well, our main problem with that is, keep in mind, we have to enforce it, and to enforce it on both sides, an ordinance has to be very clear so that people understand exactly what they have to do, what they have to accomplish, how something has to look, how something has to be maintained. It has to be, in order for it not to be unconstitutionally vague, it has to be very clear what the requirements are. If the ordinance requires that they be installed in conformance with the manufacturer's requirements, of course, the problem with that is what are the manufacturer's requirements? How do we determine that? How do we know
Well,
that?
they may be different with each fence too. We have to
And
find a
they're
copy of
different
it.
with every fence. And how is it that, as the city, as the enforcers of this ordinance, how do we determine what the manufacturer's requirements are for installation? And are they requirements or are they suggestions? And this is how they would look best if it were installed this way, that sort of thing. So my recommendation is that you take what the manufacturers might require to make the fence look good and require it in your ordinance instead of referencing that sort of thing. So with no gaps, for example. Level on the top, so that, for example, that McConnell's fence we're looking at, one of the things that I think makes it visually appealing is that it appears to be flat across the top, and any variation is kind of absorbed, if you will, at the bottom
I
of
would
the
think
fence
that's
as
gonna be
opposed.
harder to regulate. Now you're out there telling them,
Well, but that.
Well, it's gotta follows the
top-
contour of the land, I think
Yeah,
like a
that the top
stockade
cap be
fence would.
level, or the top rail be level. That's not difficult.
well, but
It is,
that
but
don't
it's half
seem to
mile.
say, the next guy may wanna step his down. It's level, but it's stepped down.
Right, and it's level, as long as it's not, you
Like
know, so
gaps
that
and
it's not
stuff.
gaps
Yeah.
and,
Well, I think typically they follow, Jeff, don't they typically follow the lay of the land? It may be downhill, but it's straight.
Well, as long as it's, yeah, I mean, she was saying just straight level across.
well,
One-
no, I said level. So
There's a
what I'm
difference
saying
between,
is
difference
that,
between level and straight, though.
right, level.
But I would think though, if the manufacturer said that this, the guy's submitting a permit and he's saying, here's the metal, here's where it's coming from, and the suggested manufacturer's installation says install it vertical, you could say it needs to be vertical. I mean, that's like saying the guy wants to roof his house and he's gonna roof it backwards. The manufacturer suggests you start at the bottom and you overlap. That's how you install it. And if he tries to install it backwards, it's not gonna work, and he's not following suggested manufacturer's recommendation.
Is there like a builder's code language for this kind of stuff?
I think
No.
I think it's gonna vary with the manufacturer.
Well, I meant like it, like the International Building Code, like the code itself. Does it address fences?
Any reference to fences, as I recall, and it's been a while since I've read it, but any reference to fences, as I recall, has fairly broad language, maintained in good repair, panels all in place.
All that good and vague stuff.
That good big
Gotcha.
stuff.
But I'm just saying, I agree, I think whether he does it horizontal or vertical, it's hard to regulate, but you could throw in some manufacturer suggested installation. I would think you could add that.
Well, following up with
If you
Jeff's
wanted
point, if they bought the fence, they're gonna have the recommendations. Just have them bring them when they do the fence permit.
And can you state new? I mean, a lot of this stuff comes off an old, if the guy's using a metal off an old building, could we recommend it, that it's, not used panels?
You're not recommending, you're requiring.
Can
That's
you
what I'm trying to
require-
get through to you is that what you're talking about is what will be requirements that the code enforcers will have to enforce.
Well,
That's
can
why
you
it has to be
require
clear on
new
our side, clear on their side.
then? And I think we're borderline getting too restrictive, but I'm just, offering you suggestions, can you require new fencing and not seconds? No?
That's why I say,
You could take
you
old
can say
tin.
not rusty, you can have it, you can.
I think that's a good point, though. Just make sure it's
Include
not rusty. That'd probably be a fair addition.
Not rusting, not
Because we can't say
bent.
new. That'd be good. It's like we're really kicking tail right
Beat
there.
up, holes in it. I mean, where do you stop?
I mean, you can get some used metal and make a really ugly fence, you know? I
Is there
can
any way we
see
can
that.
legislate pretty? Have you ever heard about a way of doing that, Kathy?
Residential
Really?
also.
Moving on.
That and my red pen will be very pretty.
So do we need to make a motion to send it back to planning commission? or-
It's going back,
Okay.
so hopefully we've got enough here to work
Get
with.
enough out of that to make it work?
Yes,
Okay.
maybe.
All right, next item is new business or public discussion. Any new business or public discussion for the city council of Midwest City? One person signed up on Stancil.
Name's Brandon Burns. I met with y'all September 8th, and it was voted
Brandon,
for
if you give us your address too, please, for the record.
1201 Stanzel.
Thank you, sir.
So it was voted to bulldoze 1119 Stanzel, and it is yet to happen. I guess the guy that bought the house after it was voted on to be bulldozed has came to y'all, came to somebody, and asked for more time. Well, it's been 90 days. It's still, it's in better shape, but it's still not. I mean, I've picked up trash out of my yard for the last 90 days. We're still having problems with rodents. Theft has gone up. Someone's tried to break into my house. Someone broke into the house to the very south of it. Stole dirt bike, laptop, tablet, phone. It's just all around been a nightmare of an ordeal.
Okay.
You know, when I left out of here September 8th, I was promised that it was gonna be bulldozed. Within 30, 45 days, it was gonna be done.
Brandon, I don't have an answer for you. I remember the conversation. Obviously, some ulterior or some different arrangements have been made.
Right.
I think all we can do at this point, since Mr. Stroh, the supervisor of that unit, is not here this evening,
Right.
we're just gonna have to get back with you later and find out where we're at, but we will do that.
We,
Okay.
we can't talk about it since it wasn't on the agenda.
Understand.
Yeah, but we will get back to you and
Okay.
people will get with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
for
for
bringing
bringing
it
that to our attention, and
No
we'll
problem.
look into it and get back with you.
Yeah, I got it from already. I'll give it to you.
We got his address and name. Okay, good. We'll get it
I
back
can get
here.
it to you.
Okay. Any other new business or public discussion for the city of Midwest City Council? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion that we recess for the purpose of doing executive session later in the evening.
Move to recess.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to recess the Midwest City Municipal Council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We'll now move to the Midwest City Municipal Authority. Call that to order. The discussion item, discussion and consideration of approving the minutes of the staff briefing of the regular meetings, November the 24th, 2015, as submitted.
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve those minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New business or public discussion for the Midwest City Municipal Authority.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Call to order the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority. Consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the trustees of the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed on the consent agenda does not meet with the approval of all trustees or members of the audience who wish to discuss the proposed item with the trustees, that item will be removed and heard in regular order.
Move to approve.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there those opposed? That motion carries. Next item is discussion item.
This is discussion, consideration of action to reallocate assets, change fund managers, or make changes in the statement of investment policy, guidelines, and objectives. No action is necessary on this.
Any new business or public discussion for the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority? New business or public discussion for the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority? The executive session?
This is discussion, consideration of one entering into executive session as allowed under 25 OS Section 307C10 to confer on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to remain or to locate within the city, and two, an open session authorizing action as appropriate based on the discussion in executive session.
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. All in favor, say aye. Are there any opposed? We'll be in executive session. Folks, the only thing that remains tonight are the two executive sessions. That's all the meaningful business, that's all the business that we have that will be for public discussion this evening. Thank you guys very much for coming.